The idea is not necessarily to do a flip in 24 hours. It's to inspire people to do a 3-month renovation in 7 days.
That's right.
Right? Just, reduce your holding time, reduce the amount of stress. And not for nothing, but when you have the plumber, the electrician, the framer, and everybody on site on your property, what happens? If you have an issue, you're like, hey, you call him, he's in the other room. You're just like, hey, come over here.
Yeah.
You're not scheduling him, getting him here the next night before that guy can move on to his piece of the work.
Right.
You get things done.
What is up, the Science of Flipping family? I am back with an impressive guest. I've actually known this gentleman for well over a decade. He and I kind of grew in the trenches together. He on the East Coast, me on the West Coast. But this man is a TV star. He is the star of 24-Hour Flip and is an impressive realtor, owns a brokerage, and flips properties in 24 hours. Jon Steingraber is here. What is up, dude?
What's up, man? Thanks. You're more famous than I am, even though I have a TV show.
I don't know about all that, dude. You're on Netflix and Hulu. I mean, you're all A&E. You're all over the place, right? And so,
glad to be on. Man,
I'm excited because I have flipped a lot of properties in my career. I have no idea how the hell you are able to do it in 24 hours. Well, now, let me just ask a quick thing. Like, are we talking about you buy it, you paint it, you list it?
Nope. I mean, it's all documented. It's on A&E, Hulu, YouTube. You guys can check out the episodes. We do full kitchens. We do bathrooms. We do flooring. We paint the exterior. We do roofs. We do windows. We're talking about
24 hours.
In 24 hours, yeah. And we'll get into why we kind of came up with this idea and this business model and how other people can do it. That's why I'm here. I just want to share, kind of reprogram, reset people because we've been kind of taught that it takes 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and that's not reality.
So why isn't that reality? As someone that basically I adjust for somewhere between 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
For my underwriting, hard money, so I want to make sure my economics are all right. Why? That's the reality, right? It's not, obviously, is what you're telling me, but why?
Yeah, I mean, profit destroyers, you have to look at your profit destroyers, right? One of them is holding costs. Another one is, over-renovating, right? So those are 2 out of the 5 that I kind of focus on. And, I lost money on 2 big flips where we were doing these huge additions. They were taking forever, multi-step permits, right? Some permits have 3 or 4 stages. And I looked back at my track record and my history and I said, okay, which are the ones that I've made the most amount of profit, most margin on, and were the least stressful? And it was the ones that we actually did the quickest, right? Reducing our holding costs, but then also that we were very strategic on what it is that we did for a renovation, right? There wasn't that, we weren't doing additions. Those are the ones that I've lost money on.
Yeah.
So some people are very successful with those, but, that's how we came up with this 24-hour flip business model. And you don't have to, go nuts renovating an entire house and knocking down walls and, the kitchen's not perfectly placed. The sink is here. It could be over there. All those things are going to add to, the inefficiencies of a project. And most people, the way that they actually do a flip is, they get an offer accepted. They go through due diligence. They close on the property. Then they go inside the house and they go, okay, let's hire the architect.
Right.
Right. And he takes 2 or 3 weeks. Right. And then, once you have the plans, then you're, having your contractors bid it out. Then by the time you actually hire the contractors and have them sign and seal the permits, you submit it to the town, that's another 3 weeks. Right. Just for them, at least in Jersey, it's 21 days by law that they have to get back to you with permits. Right. That's if they don't want to change. And then before you know it, you're not even starting the job until 2.5 to 3 months out.
So one of the bigger inefficiencies, what you're saying, and I tend to agree, is like speed of being ready to start.
100%.
Right. Whether it's, again, I think in my world, I don't do a lot in the Northeast and they're older homes and my own issue, but like the minimum, have your general contractor who's going to run the project already have walked it, understand what's about to happen. So the day you fund, they can start moving.
Yeah. So you get a house under contract, what you should do, this is what we do. You get a house under contract, you're past contingencies. Yeah. Right. Title's clear. You're closing on this damn house. Right. I've never had past due diligence and I'm never past due diligence and title is clear and I don't close.
Right.
Right. So I still typically have 3 or 4 weeks to close because people don't move out right away. Right. So I schedule my closings typically 45 to 60 days out. So I still have 30 days. So in those 30 days, I put a clause in my contract when I buy it that you're going to allow me access to the property with 24 hours notice for my architects, for my contractors, et cetera. So we go in there, we start measuring everything. We start, doing a detailed scope of work all the way down to the door stops behind the doors, right? And we purchase all the materials before we even, close on the house. I'm ordering windows way ahead of time. It takes 4, 5, 6 weeks sometimes for windows, right? So 100% being ready to rock and roll when you actually close on that property is going to reduce your holding costs significantly. But construction, if you really think about it, there is a sequence to construction, right? You got to frame before you put up sheetrock, right? But there's a lot of things that are also able to be done simultaneously on a property.
Sure.
And you see that on the show, right? If you're taking down a fence and you're doing the roof and you're painting inside and the plumber's doing his rough and the electrician's doing, replacing outlets, they can all be doing that at the same time.
Yeah.
But that's not how investors work, right? Investors hire
plumbers on Monday,
plumbers like,
electricity
Tuesday,
right.
I'll be done Thursday, and then he comes by himself or maybe with one guy. And construction all comes down to planning. And it also comes down to man hours, right? And what a lot of people don't realize is that, multiple things could be getting done at the same time. And if you ask the contractor to bring more guys, for example, a painter, instead of having 2 guys painting, you have 10 guys painting, right? You can get it done faster. It's just on how you plan and how you set it all up.
Yeah, and then so I would assume if a painter brought 10 guys, he's going to be more expensive because he's got to pay all 10 guys now.
Well, not necessarily, because if he had 2 guys, they would just be there longer.
That's right. Okay. So
and he would be paying those guys over 5 days, right?
Yeah.
Which is 10 days.
I'm even thinking about a property that we're in the middle of a rehab flip in San Antonio, which has been frustrating me because it's taking too long. And I'm thinking about why it's taking too long as you are talking. And I'm like, oh my God, he's hitting it on the head. What the general contractor did is he just started going wide and kind of starting everything, but nothing's really like when you even walk in. Yeah. Like he's kind of just getting everything going. And you're like, God, that's a 45-day burn, which cost me, I think on that property, we're at
$22 a day.
Yeah, we're at $2,200 for that a month. So times another half. So we're just shy of $4,000.
Yeah.
Because he kind of got everything started and his point is, okay, now we're ready to go. And I'm like, brother, I don't know if that was efficient.
And it's all percentage of profit, right? If you're making a $200,000 profit, it's different than if you're making a $50,000 profit.
No, so $50,000 is a $150,000 home in San Antonio. This is not.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, if you lose $5,000 in holding costs, 10% of your profit.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it all comes down to pre-planning, purchasing, and I don't hire general contractors. I hire a project manager. I typically pay them a percentage of the profit, or I do a flat fee. Okay. So the project manager is hiring directly the subs. They're organizing everything, and I'm doing it with them. And then, but we're choosing everything ahead of time. I think one of the most important things is people get caught up in, I want this to be in a magazine, and I'm dramatic, but like they just want it to be the best thing.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily what's the best for profit. It's what's going to look the best on Instagram.
I think that is such a big thing is people need to think about profit first, right? And no pun to the book, but like you need to figure out what is going to be the best way to get the most amount of profit out of this home. Some homes you can make an art. You got to go for it. If you want to get the most profit, then you got to go all the way. Most homes, like 85% of the homes, that is not the case, right? You might have 15% of that market share that you say, I got to go to the balls to the wall on this one.
Yeah.
85% of the time, that is not the case.
Yeah. You buy a house that has mold all over it. You have to gut it to the studs.
That's right.
I mean, you're not going to provide an unsafe property, right, for somebody. So not every property will qualify for the 24-hour flip business model. And to clarify, it's 2 12-hour days. Right. So the first 24-hour flip that I did was literally 24 hours. And that's, stupid.
Yeah.
That was,
I'm glad you said that.
I mean, we almost died that day.
Yeah.
And it was horrible. So we just do it in 2 12-hour days. Can you do it in 3 8-hour days? Yeah. The idea is not necessarily to do a flip in 24 hours. It's to inspire people to do a 3-month renovation in 7 days.
That's right.
Right. Just, reduce your holding time, reduce the amount of stress. And not for nothing, but when you have the plumber, the electrician, the framer, and everybody on site on your property, what happens? If you have an issue, you're like, hey, you call him, he's in the other room. You're just like, hey, come over here.
Yeah.
You're not scheduling him, getting him here the next day before that guy can move on to his piece of the work.
Right.
You get things done, right? And it's very unique. And the contractors freaking love it, Justin.
Oh, of course.
Because they're in and out and they get paid.
Well, and a lot of times they blame each other, right? Like, oh, I got to wait for the electrician before I can go for the roughs and whatever else, right? Yeah. And so I want to kind of maybe highlight, like, You don't use general contractors. Okay. You do profit share. How does that work?
So, a lot of people ask me because, I do have a coaching program for New Jersey students only.
By the way, so if you're in Jersey, maybe even New York or only Jersey?
No, just Jersey.
Jersey. If you're in Jersey watching or listening to this, I want you to reach out to Jon. Where can they go to learn more, to connect with you?
They could go to flipwithjon.com. And
Flip
Jon
with
is Jon.
Flipwithjon, Jon.com. If you're in Jersey, he can help you. He can get you there, whether you do 24-hour flips or at least become more efficient.
Yeah.
So make sure you go there. Make sure you follow him.
Yeah, so I always tell my students when they go, well, how do you do it and what do you pay people? Well, it depends on how many deals you're doing. If you're doing one deal a year, you're going to probably pay a project manager a higher percentage of the profit. If you're doing 10 or 15 flips a year, then you could do a smaller percentage of the profit. Okay, what I've done recently is just pay a flat fee, right? So they're actually getting paid to do that job, and it depends on the scope of that job. So it'll be anywhere between like $10,000 to $20,000 flat fee, but then they're managing all the subs and doing all that, right?
And is that a percentage of the profit essentially in your own? So you
yeah, I mean, if you're making $100,000 and you're paying them 15, then you're paying them 15%, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so I go flat fee typically based, and it's a 10% typically. Now I
10% of profit?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll know 10% of rehab budget, meaning so if I do a $50,000 flip, I'm going to give you $5,000 to go run that project. Now you need to find the subs, hire the subs, get the lien waivers. I mean, you're running A to Z project.
Right.
But my model is a lot more unscaled than I think yours is, right? Like we want to try to acquire 1 to 2 properties a week, right? And so we're running at a volume. We're also not localized to one city. I'm not saying you're right or I'm right or you're wrong. What I'm just saying my model is slightly different. And so let's talk about maybe what are 3 ways as a listener listening to us right now, like what would be the 3 things that you can say to create efficiencies? We've mentioned some of them, right?
Yeah.
Making sure
Pre-planning.
Right, pre-planning. So what does that even look like in terms of pre-planning? Like what needs to be pre-planned? Is it literally on paperwork? What does that look like?
So number 1 is having the most detailed scope of work you possibly can. And that includes pictures and videos, right? So I do a Matterport of the before, and I'll literally sit in my house for a few hours going through the whole entire Matterport. And for those of you that don't know, Matterport's just like a 3D tour of the property. And I will write down every single little thing that needs to be done. Okay, everything by room and by trade. I categorize it. Then step 2 is I do 24 phases. Each phase is 1 hour. So I go, okay, what's going to be done in phase 1, right? Demo, cleanup, depending on what you're doing. We're taking down the fence. We're throwing this out. Everything. If you have a flagpole that's rusted, we're taking that out. You take that down, right? That's in this phase 1 scope or phase 2. Right. And then you put who is assigned to that, what trade, plumber, electrician, HVAC, demo, etc. Right. And you might have I hire people just to clean the house the whole time.
Yeah.
They're just cleaning
going around the whole time.
Yeah. They're just cleaning. I have one person that's going hydrating everybody, giving them water. Right. And, it's a little bit different than your normal job. We get food for everybody. We have a runner to Home Depot or Lowe's or, whatever.
Yeah, just all day running back and forth. Oh, I need this.
That's it. They're in a van.
He walks around.
Literally waiting in their van. They're going, they're waiting in the Home Depot parking lot and, hey, I need this. And then they go in and then they come to the house.
Wow.
Right. So, I mean, it's simple. It's simple pre-planning stuff. And of course, you're going to plan everything out from lunch, right? Like what time is lunch?
Are we feeding them?
Who's having lunch? Etc. We typically take a break, everybody, and we have a line. People just line up. I don't know if they show that on the episodes. I haven't seen them all. So
24-hour flip, guys. This is so cool. Like I've done a lot of flips, man. So I would tell you, go watch it on Hulu, YouTube, every place you possibly can. A&E is the TV station. So all right. So now
the other thing that I want to before I forget. So a lot of people make the mistake in the decision making phase.
Yeah.
Right. They're like, my wife will go into a house, no joke, and she'll be like, knock down this wall, knock down that wall. And I'm like, no, we're not knocking down walls because that's going to require, fixing the floors, getting permits, waiting for them to come and take a look at, that we did it right. And then you can proceed. You can't do that if you're going to do a really quick flip.
Sure.
You just can't. Right. And I'm not saying that, you don't get permits. You get permits on things that are, 1-step permits. But if there's things that are multi-step permits where it's like, I have to do framing, then insulation, then finish, The finish doesn't matter, but the first two are stopping you from moving forward in your sequence, right? So you're literally just waiting.
Yeah.
And you're wasting money and wasting time. So a lot of times, you know, even though the sink would be better off over here, you know, within 3 feet, I can move it, you know, and it doesn't require a permit, right? So I'm not going to move it over there.
Yeah.
I'm just going to figure it out. And not every house qualifies for this. Some are just functionally obsolete and you do need to make changes.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, for example, a lot of times before I used to knock down the wall between 2 bedrooms in a 4-bedroom house and make it a 3-bedroom and put a master bath and a walk-in closet. I don't do that shit anymore.
Yeah.
I don't. I go, no, I'm going to get in and I'm going to get out. And not for nothing, but people count your money.
Yeah.
So when I get in and I get out, and typically I'm on the market within 7 days of buying it. Okay?
Wow.
So I'm on the market within 7 days. In New Jersey, I don't know how it works in other states, but it takes about 6 weeks typically to for the price to show up what you bought it for.
Okay.
So when I'm on the market, nobody knows what I bought it for.
That's right.
If I renovate a house over 2 months, 3 months, and then I put it on the market, they're like, well, you just bought this house for $500.
Right.
And now you're asking $800.
Right.
It's like, yeah, but when I bought it, it was, you know, they're counting your money.
That's right. That's true.
I could have inherited it for $1. Who gives a shit?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But they care about what you bought it for.
Well, I don't want them to make that much money, so I'm not
Exactly.
gonna, I'm going to give them a low offer.
Exactly. So it avoids that. Okay. It avoids that whole, you know, oh, well, he bought it for this, you know, it's renovated. And a lot of people ask me, well, what about permits?
Yeah.
Well, in New Jersey, I don't know how it works in your state. You can look it up per municipality, whatever. Direct replacement is allowed, right? No permits.
Yeah.
I can take all the cabinets down, put new cabinets in, and countertops and everything, have brand new kitchen, new appliances, everything, and it doesn't require permits.
I don't know any state that I'm in that would require that for direct replacement.
Yeah.
I think it's
Same
all-
thing with bathrooms. Vanities here, okay. I'm not I'm not changing it. I'm not putting the vanity on this wall and putting it over here. No, I'm leaving it there.
Yeah.
Direct replacement, toilet, direct replacement, everything direct replacement. And, you know, if it's a water heater, you got to get a permit, but that's 1-step permit.
Yeah.
You can put in the permit for that, replace a water heater, get the guy to come out. It doesn't stop you from doing anything, right? Roofing, windows, siding doesn't require permits.
That's right.
Right? Unless you're doing the sheathing on the roof, you know, then it's emergency work and you could get the guy out there. But you just have to understand the rules of the game, right? We're playing a game.
Yeah.
So the better you know the rules, the more that you could take advantage of how it works. And then you have to be smart enough to say, and disciplined enough to say, all right, I'm not going to knock down that wall, right? Even though open layout concept's the thing, you know, I'm not going to do that because I want to make money. And guess what? I've never not sold a house because I didn't knock down that wall. No, it sells. You just have to price it accordingly and purchase it accordingly.
I was just going to say, so you adjust for the price, right? So you create an open layout, you create the modern look that people want. You might get your 800, but if you're not going to, you're going to leave the wall up. You just replace what's already there, make it new, go white cabinets or whatever,
Yeah.
You might sell for $749.
Yeah, I mean,
instead of $799.
Or you might sell for, you know, a $10,000 difference.
Okay.
I mean, it's a lot of times it really doesn't make that big of a difference. It's more a matter of there's inventory. Wow, there's a renovated home. How many houses in your area are actually renovated and, you know, they're not at the top of the market priced?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we do. We have a renovated home that's not at the top of the market. And that's what people love. People love that because there's not a lot of inventory out there.
No,
It's not your area, right?
Yeah, there's not a lot of inventory in any market, right? And for you to be able to provide a like new property, maybe it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but it's like new, it's renovated, they have the updates they want. I really believe, I'm literally thinking about, we just bought a home in Georgia, right? That I'm like, man, do we change kind of our game plan on that? You're making me think as I'm sitting here. This is fun. Okay, so first is the planning phase. Like, make sure you have an actual plan. What would be the next thing someone can take away from this episode of, like, if I'm trying to speed up and create more efficiencies?
Speed up. So logistics, right? So we bought a 36-foot trailer. You know, if you're in the business, it's not a bad idea to do this. And we put all of our supplies there. Now, look, I didn't have a 36-foot trailer when I first started doing 24-hour flips.
That's right.
I rented a 24-foot U-Haul.
Okay.
Right. So we would literally put everything there, and then the U-Haul's in front of the house. You open it like it's a storage facility. You can even do a pod.
Yeah.
Right. And you have all the materials there for the whole job. So you have an inventory list.
Smart.
Right. And you have everything there. And you have some extras of stuff. Right.
Yeah.
right? So so you're not constantly running back and forth. You're always going to have to go to the supply house store. That's why we have our runner, but the idea is that you think through everything, right? And you plan it. And then a lot of people are waiting on materials. So, if I know that my windows are 5 weeks out, I'm going to order them before when I know I'm going to buy the house, I'm going to order it ahead of time. A lot of times people tend to close on a property and then they're ordering stuff. And then they find out,
99% of people are.
This specific cabinet is 6 weeks out. It's like, okay, but what is the cost of that? Hold time and market risk, because it's not just the holding costs. Interest rates go up, things change, right? If some sort of, global event happened, it's going to affect you negatively.
Yeah.
And you're putting yourself at risk.
Well, so one of the things I believe, and tell me, you're a coach in Jersey and I coach across the nation, but I think part of the reason why that happens is raising the capital to go buy the materials and pre-order and do down payments and things of that nature. Now, I'm guessing
that's the cheapest, right? You could get a Home Depot line of credit. You can put stuff on your credit card. You have a 28-day grace period. If you're a new business owner, you can get a 0% credit card for 12 months. I mean,
I agree with you. Right?
That's the least. The materials are the least of your capital raise, right?
Yeah, it's mostly through the work and labor component plus debt servicing, right? So again, if you have a $50,000 rehab, you're probably going into it with 15 grand of materials.
Yeah, 15 or 20 grand. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so, but I think that's a mindset shift that I think people need to understand. Hear you again, rewind what we're just talking about is I believe most people don't do what you're doing because the outlay of money out of the gate, right? It's going to take me 5 weeks to get the product. I need to spend it now. I don't see anything for 5 weeks, but it's the same thing when you buy the home. You're going to have to wait 5 weeks. So now you're spending more money by closing on the home. Right. You're still waiting 5 weeks. It's just inefficient.
Yeah. And our margin, here's the thing. If you divide your after renovation value by your profit, when I do my numbers, when I buy a house, it's a minimum of 10%. If I'm going to resell a house for 800 grand, I need to make a minimum of $80,000.
That's right.
Because God forbid anything were to happen, right? And you might go over on construction a little bit. The market might shift a little bit.
You might go over. It's almost always in my world.
Yeah, I mean, it depends.
I account for it. I account for a 5%, like the contractor didn't see the thing.
Yeah.
Or the thing broke or whatever.
Or you add something or you change something because you're like, oh, I'm going to get a good ROI on this.
That's right.
Right? So you're going to do it,
So what would be 1/3? So logistics, I really love that. I really love having, whether it's a U-Haul or you have a trailer or whatever parked in front of the home with the materials in it. A question before I get to the third thing that maybe they could have a takeaway, but maybe this might be one. Do you house, because you rehab in one specific city, do you house like 5 properties worth of flooring and everything is cookie cutter, everything, you're an open door version, everything's the same?
No, it's not.
Okay.
And I don't renovate just in one city. It's one state. But a few different counties. Okay. And, New Jersey is the most densely populated state in the country, and it's very different from town to town, right? So the way that I make decisions on stuff is not necessarily systematic.
Yeah.
It's what has sold in that geographic area over asking price. And, what is the trend in that area? What do people want in that geographic area? And then I make my decisions by just looking at what the data is.
Yeah.
And then I make the decisions on what we're going to do in that house based on that. So I don't go and buy, 20 toilets, even though most of the time I use the same toilets. I don't do that and warehouse it because the discount that I'm getting, for that is, first of all, there's logistics, there's headaches, there's stress. This breaks that, you're past the refund period, et cetera. It's not worth it, right? And then the cost of warehousing it.
Yeah.
It's makes no sense. The only thing that I've done a little bit is I'll buy like 5 appliance packages or something on the 4th of July sale. So it's like a really good sale. And I'm like, all right, I'm saving 10 grand if I do this. And then Home Depot will store it for me for 3 months. And within 3 months, I'll do it.
That's a huge takeaway.
Yeah. So, little things like that. But I don't store everything or buy anything from China or, import it. I don't do
necessarily trying to skimp per se. What you are trying to do is create efficiencies. I mean, this isn't a TV show or a strategy of like, here's how you can skimp and still profit. This is like, here's how you become efficient and still profit and profit more, most likely. Because think about your holding costs. You go and flip in a 7 days turn, right? Let's just say it took you 7 days to put it on the market.
Right.
It takes you 45 days, 60 days to close with the end buyer if you find a good property, right? You just cut out 3 to 6 months of what I would underwrite towards of holding costs.
And market risk.
And market risk and volatility and whatever, interest rates and all this other stuff. Like, it is so much smarter. So I think the third takeaway, which I really liked, what you were just mentioning, really comes down to being able to understand the value of the materials and to be able to pre-plan around the materials.
Yeah.
I like that, right? Is to just understand the market, know what county does what type of remodel, what are the color schemes that are popular, what's moving. Understanding the market creates efficiency to know I can go after this type of material.
Yeah.
We can move faster. Let's go.
And the reason why I have a project manager and not, just do subs or not just do a GC is because we all have to understand that contractors are inefficient.
Mm-hmm.
So by actually having all the materials, you're making them more efficient because they typically will send a guy or two to like help to Home Depot for hours out of the day, multiple times, right? Just think about how much is lost during that.
That's right.
Right. So, and over again, compounded over the job, and you're paying for that.
That's right.
Even if you're not paying people per day, you're still paying for that.
For debt, hard money cost. I mean, I think people don't estimate how much, they understand the number, what the monthly number is, but like how much they would be saving.
Everything adds up, and you have to reduce your profit destroyers. Like, my business model is a little bit different than yours.
Mm-hmm.
And, my goal is to do 10 to 15 flips that net $100,000 or more per year or per deal.
Yeah.
Right. So if I can, I'd rather do one $100,000 profit deal than three $35,000 deals.
That's right.
It's just an efficiency thing, right? And I go after more affluent areas. Why? Because less people are marketing to those areas because most people are buying in the lower priced areas. So I have less competition. I buy in the higher end areas, and private lenders, which is what I use, like to invest in high end areas because they're like, oh, I know that town. That's a great town. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Right. It's just all around. It's different. So you have to decide on your business model on how you want to do it. And I don't leverage the fact that I'm on a show and all that stuff. And that's why people lend me money. I've been borrowing private capital since 2007.
Yeah.
Right. When I was 21 years old. So anybody can do it. And if you need to start out with a hard money lender, putting 10% down and taking the construction draws, whatever, you get a couple deals under your belt. But if you show that this level of efficiency, even if it's a 30-day reno, that's better than what most people are doing.
That's right.
And the model makes more sense.
I think there's a takeaway. So my model, we just do separate things, and I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong. I try to stick under 300,000. The reason being is I like the idea and the concept that if something does go wrong and there is volunteer, I can rent it.
I always had that same concept too. Yeah. And then, when inflation started getting crazy, this is just my opinion.
Sure.
Affluent people are less affected by inflation.
There's no doubt.
And people that are in the $200,000-$400,000 range, and in New Jersey, that looks like a $500,000-$600,000 range because the prices are so high.
Yeah.
At least in my area of New Jersey, they're a lot more affected by inflation. So, and the interest rates being at 7%, which they are right now, right? So that was always, the idea, because I don't see a slowdown in the $1.5 million, $1.2 million, $2 million homes.
No, because you and I and the people that can afford it. And we say, okay, so the interest rate's at 6.75. It's not ideal, but not the worst.
Yeah, most people are buying cash.
Right. And I was going to say I put more down so that way I don't have
or
so much
50% down or something like that. Yeah. So, and look, they all work. It's not, this is the only way to do it. There's a million ways to make money. It's just, what do you want? What are you excited about?
And what's your skill set, right? You and I'm 18 years into this, and I think you're about the same, right? We started the same trajectory. I think we met in San Diego in 2007, right? Like, it's been a long time we know each other. So, but most people listening to this are not us. And so that's where the people need to decide, what do you want your business to look like, right? Like, you start with the end in mind. Do you want to become a John or a Justin or vice versa?
Yeah.
Well, for them, they're going to have to learn how to raise money. You do 100% private.
Mm-hmm.
I do 50% private, right? So I still like using hard money because then I don't have as much need for the private.
Yep.
neither's wrong. It's
No,
just
and I
have
used hard money. Like even on the 24-hour flip, there was one of my private lenders was like, "Hey, I actually buying a property. I'm not lending money on this deal," and he had earmarked that money for my deal. So I went to my local hard money lender, right, Alpha Funding.
Okay.
They're awesome, and they closed that deal in less than 10 days.
That's great.
Right. So, hard money is another form of capital,
Mm-hmm.
right? What I dislike about hard money is the monthly payments.
Oh.
There was a time I had 26 properties at once and my bills were $65,000 a month.
Not
So I'll
exciting.
flip a house, make money, and then that would pay next month's bills.
That's right.
Right. So, the chokehold is really that monthly payment. If you can do it with private capital, I do it where you invest the money and then you get the money back plus your interest
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the deal when we close.
That's
Where
right.
there's no monthly payments.
It's
That's
really
really
ideal because if you're at volume on any scale,
Right.
those monthly payments, I did the same thing in, forget what year it was, 2012 maybe. I had like 96 flips that I bought and completed. The chokehold's cash. I mean, you literally go like, I'm not paying myself. I'm paying debt service the whole time. Right? Like
You have to stop flipping in order to get your money.
that's basically it.
Right.
And that's the shittiest part is you basically have to stop buying so you can finally actually have the profit to be able to pay yourself.
And God forbid that you're in a market where things go sideways and then you're stuck holding the bag and then you're like, shit, all the profit that I just worked for,
That's right.
is in these deals and now they just all went down. So,
And we know, and then the other part of this is you got to stop marketing, stop buying. And we know then the cycle of that trajectory, what happens is that means the next quarter, once you finally, is a tough quarter too.
right.
Because you didn't buy anything for a quarter because you had to slow down. And so there's that, I love that where you go, private financing, no debt servicing, it accrues, pay off over, potential equity share if maybe not, but like it's a beautiful model, right? And I would tell people to your point, figure out what you want your model to, there's no wrong.
Yeah, no.
You just need to adjust for what your model you want to look like. Now you're specific to Jersey. I'm asking everyone right now because it's obvious, the obvious. Trump's here.
Yeah.
Interest rates.
Go Trump.
Go Trump. We already see, and I see Jason's here, so he's an economist by trade, and so he's all over. But I say that because, where do you see like Northeast? I don't play much in the Northeast. Price being one of them, winters being another. So I just, if I found something in Jersey, at least I could call you and have a relationship that I'd feel comfortable. But in a general sense, now where do you see Jersey, a state like Jersey? Everything's very expensive. Miami's very expensive. You live in some of the most expensive areas you can. Where do you see the Jersey market going for yourself?
I mean, the inventory is very low. I think that has a lot to do with New York City, even though New York City's bouncing back.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Trump administration has definitely helped from a perspective of hope and, the areas that had high crime and stuff like that, like some of the areas in New York City, people feel a little bit different now.
Okay.
Meaning in a more optimistic way.
Sure.
So, we might see a little bit lower of an influx in New York, but then it'll bounce right back and we get kind of the overflow. Why? Because when New York is doing well, their prices go up. And when their prices go up, people seek to find other, properties and they go to New Jersey.
That's right.
Right. And if you're selling like a $1.5 to $2 million house in New Jersey, 90% of your buyers are Jersey City, Hoboken, right? Which are people that work in Manhattan or people in Manhattan.
Okay.
Or Brooklyn, right? In the nice areas of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
They're buying in the suburbs. They want good schools and they have, their wife is pregnant. They already have a kid and they want more space.
Yeah.
Right. So we have that kind of benefit in Jersey that we get the overflow from New York. And Miami's like, it's like New York, but with nice weather and more expensive real estate.
Very expensive.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's out of
I'm blown away by Miami and there's a lot of opportunity here as well. I've always been the type of person that you contract the space. If you can hit your goals in one geographic area, your life will be easier if you focus and know everything there is to know. And that area like the back of your hand.
Yeah.
That's just, and that's why like my coaching program's only in Jersey.
Yeah.
Right. I have people that are like, oh, in California, can you coach me? I'm like, look, I give my coaching students contractor resources. We go to people's properties. It's very intimate. It's very different. It's not like a scaled program.
Yeah.
Right. So it's, that's why we just focus in on that geographic area.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of validity. I mean, I know there is, right? As someone that runs a company that fix and flips in 9 states, I buy and hold in 9 states. I coach throughout the United States. I know the pros and cons to my side.
Right.
And I think the cons lean into why you do what you do, right? You basically, you know the numbers, you know the neighborhoods, you know the people, you know, you have so many more controllables, right? When you stick to one state.
It's very localized real estate.
Of course.
And but you have people on the ground too in those geographic areas that you're typically like partnering with. So it's a little bit different.
The upside for me is because of how even my coaching program is national. So I'm one call away from anyone in any city, any state, right?
It's different. I don't like to partner with people.
No, yeah.
Because I don't know if they did their tax returns or not.
Exactly.
Then we go to sell the house and now we got to pay their tax bill.
There you go. That's right.
Which has actually happened to me before.
I was just going to say, it sounds like you've done that before. Yeah.
Yeah. So I try to keep it as simple as possible. But, when you're doing business, you just need to decide on, you can make money in any area. It doesn't matter if it's low end, if it's high end, if it's one area or nationwide. Like I'll look at anything nationwide if it's commercial because it's strictly based on cap rate, which is easy to find. And it's based on the numbers of the income and the expenses of the property, right? You're just coming up with the NOI and dividing it by cap rate. That's the value. And you want to get it cheaper than that and see if there's any value add or upside to it. So, with those type of properties, it's different. In single family construction and flips, I feel like you definitely need somebody boots on the ground that's going to understand that municipality and all the little, quirks from that area. Across the street, it could be a totally different school district, right? And that school district is less desirable. There could be negative stigmas in that area, external factors that you really can't control that you wouldn't know if you weren't there locally.
I wouldn't ever suggest any of my students, your student, anyone, to fix and flip in a market that they don't personally either live in or have very strong ties to. Because everything you just said, like even when I coach national, I say, great, if you're at a market wholesaler, right? If you have very strong ties and or live in there and you're looking at flipping, then I will give some justification.
Right.
But even then, you just run too much risk for all the things that we're aware of, right? And number one on that risk list is contractors, in my opinion. Bad contractors will bankrupt you very, very fast.
Yep. Two people could buy the same house and one guy hires the wrong contractor, the other guy hires the right one. One guy makes money, the other guy loses money.
That's exactly right. That is the number one risk I see when remodeling. And at 18 years in, I'm still dealing with bad contractors. It's not totally avoidable, right?
Yeah.
But in your case, because you know the people, right?
And I feel like construction's going to go up in price now, for sure, because a lot of people that are undocumented are in the construction business, at least in New Jersey.
Sure.
I speak fluent Spanish. My mom was born in Uruguay. She immigrated here. So, I kind of have an advantage that I speak fluent Spanish. And, but a lot of our guys, that are contractors, they're licensed, they're insured, et cetera. But then for them to get the laborers that work, I mean, I don't ask if they're documented, but I don't think a lot of them are.
That's right.
Right. So, is that going to put pressure on the construction industry, making it even more expensive?
I'm going to say yes.
It's things that people need to think about.
That's right.
Right. And you need to, know that tradespeople, there's less and less of them. And the ones that have been around for a long time, they're not being replaced. Right. They say, if you want to become a millionaire, don't go to college, become a plumber, right? Become an electrician. Why? Because there's going to be so much demand
for trades. Yeah.
And I don't know if AI and robotics and everything that's not the first place that, all that stuff's going to disrupt.
That's right.
It's going to be everything behind a computer and maybe like menial tasks, but not necessarily plumbing and electricians.
Not to take us too far off the course here as we're wrapping up, but like, what about all these, cement homes, and I'm blanking on the word, where the machines are really building,
like the 3D printing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great, but you still need to
build out the internal. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But you still think about 4 year, 5 year. Was this even a concept that you and I would think about? Right? Like, holy hell. Think about all the framers.
I think it's great. I mean, look, if you're an entrepreneur, and you could cut costs and that's a profit destroyer, then you'll be good. There's always going to be people in situations that need to sell their home. And that's what's important. If you're going to get good at one thing, get good at finding deals, get good at marketing, get good at negotiation, get good at presenting your offer.
Yeah.
This is what we kind of focus on, because, if that does get disrupted through different things, then awesome. But if you're in densely populated areas like New Jersey, I mean, you're not knocking down the house and building a new one.
Right.
Most of the time you're not doing that. Maybe in other states where there's a lot of land and, there's a lot of development, then that could be a huge opportunity to provide affordable housing, which is definitely needed and wanted. And, hopefully that will help solve that issue.
It's interesting. I watched I don't know if it was on CNBC, but I watched something about this that I just said, man, between the framing, no need for framers anymore.
Right.
Roofing, right? You go, they're really building the external, and there's 2 trades at least I'm aware of that all of a sudden just got essentially removed.
Disrupted.
Right? You got disrupted, right?
I know, but it's disrupted only on new construction.
That's right.
So on existing homes,
You need them.
it's not going anywhere.
That's right.
Throw a robot in there.
Try to see what happens. Put a robot make this floor. See what happens.
So, home services industry, I feel like it's going to be one of the last things to get disrupted.
Which is for entrepreneurs, which is another show that we like. That's where I want to lean into in my next decade.
Yeah.
I want to lean into home services.
Yeah,
Flaring,
we have
HVAC, roofing. I mean,
we have a brokerage, right? We sold 1,600 homes in 2024.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thanks. We have a few hundred agents. We have 4 offices, and it's an unbelievable ancillary service, home services. Somebody buys a house, they want to do stuff, right? They need ongoing services, HVAC maintenance, power washing, landscaping. There's so many avenues to make money there, but a lot of people don't want to put in that grit and that hard work.
There's no doubt.
And people need to get paid if you're going to hire employees. People aren't okay with making minimum wage and, just making $150. You can't live on that anymore.
Oh my God. Hell no.
Thank
you for coming. TV star, 24-hour flip. You can see it on A&E, Hulu, YouTube.
Just Google it. Yeah.
Just Google it. And if you're in Jersey, make sure you reach out to him. I tagged him all over my social media. Jon Steingraber is here. Thank you for showing up, dude. Appreciate you.
All right, guys. Have fun.
All right. If this helped you guys, even with the 3 points of efficiencies, make sure you share it with some people that need to watch this. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.